All right, so let's begin with interface and navigation in Cinema 4D. So in this video, we're going to cover very basics, just enough so that we can get ourselves comfortable with the software so that we know where everything is. And then later down the line, we're going to introduce more and more features as we go. So let's just begin with the top left, and then let's go clockwise around. But maybe first thing important to mention, if this is the first time that you open Cinema 4D, maybe you have all this yellow highlighted options that you see here and on the icons as well. So if you wish to turn these off, you can go to Edit, Preferences, and then you're going to find them here on the highlight feature and simply turn that off. And that way you're going to have clean viewport like this. All right, so let's begin here with the top left. So these are going to be your basic redo and undo features. Then we're going to have here selection and manipulation tools, live selection, move tool, scale tool, and rotation. So these are the very basics when it comes to manipulating the objects and the scene. Maybe important thing to mention is whenever you hover over the icons, you're going to see that they say what they're called with the short explanation, and then also giving you the shortcut T as the third. So basically you have scale tool, and then shortcut T. Also the same thing you're gonna find here at the very bottom here where my mouse is. So if you highlight, you're gonna see that also it's gonna say what they do at the very bottom. So here we have also, for example, this is going to be the history tool. Simply that means that whatever you have selected, so for example I select now scale, you're gonna see that move and scale are now being recorded, so you can then switch to move here if you wish. The same thing goes if you hit spacebar. So for example, if I go between tools, I can also hit spacebar, and that will also change this tool as well. Also, you notice that now by clicking, I also have here a new menu. And that basically means that you need to click and hold your click to get to the menu. And you'll see where the menu is available, where you see this little black triangle on the left bottom of the icon. That just means that there is more, let's say, stuff inside hidden. So whenever you see this little black triangle on the right bottom, simply hold left click, and then you're going to have this menu like so. And if you wish, you can also hover here, release the click, and then you will get this pop-up like so. This X, Y, and Z, this just means that this is locking of your axes. We're going to talk about that a bit later. Now this is going to be related to the rendering, and this panel here is going to be related to your objects, modifiers, and so on. And then finally you have your lights and cameras. And the same thing here, you have this little black triangle. Once you left click and hold, you're gonna have many more options inside. Let's now move to the right side, and here we're gonna have layout. So for now I have the startup layout. You can change any layout here if you wish. You can save other layouts by going to, so this is now a bit different, but you need to go to customization, and then you're gonna need to save layout as or save as startup layout. This is going to be the one which Cinema 4D will use once you load Cinema 4D each time. And then we have here Object Manager. In Object Manager, you're gonna have stored every single object that you find here in the scene. So for example, if I now simply click now on the cube once, it's going to appear here, and since it's highlighted, it's going to also be shown in the attribute manager as well. So whatever you have selected or highlighted in the viewport, it's going to be shown in the attribute manager as well. We can change additional parameters, like in this case, size on all axes, segments, and so on. Next to the cube, maybe worth mentioning here, you're going to see this little check, green check mark. That simply means that the object is active, and if you click on it, you're going to have this red X, and that then means that the wrap object is going to be inactive in the scene. So I'm just going to delete this for now. We're going to come back to that later. So next to the objects, you're going to have two more tabs here. One is content browser, where you're going to have a lot of, let's say, presets stored and so on. And then you're going to have attribute manager. We just saw that now, but if you remember, once we load Cinema 4D from scratch, so let's say we load a new scene, You're probably going to notice here that we had something different. So to find that, we can go to Edit, Project Settings. This is going to be the same setup that you had from the beginning. Here, what you can do is some various things regarding the project that you're working on. So for example, just you can change your default object color. You can set to, let's say, gray, blue, or custom color, which can be, let's say, greenish. So next time when you click on an object or add something to the scene, it's going to inherit that color as well. So let's just bring that back for a second. So if you wish, you can explore that and any other tabs here. In addition to the project tab right here, you also can have, let me just show you real quick since we're here. Under options here, configure all, and then here you're gonna have, maybe worth mentioning, as if you see all this, let's say, tinted borders, you can go here to save frames, and then you will find this tinted border right here if you want to remove that as well. Maybe just worth mentioning. Same thing you're going to have here, for example, filter. It's going to be found here as well. And basically that just means that you can filter specific things from the scenes. So for example, if I don't want to have the grid, I can just simply remove the grid, and you will also notice that it will be gone from here as well. So just maybe something worth mentioning as well. Addition to attributes, we have here layers. So this is something that we're going to talk about layers later, And then finally here we have coordinate manager. You have here material manager, where all your materials are going to be shown. And then finally you have your timeline editor right here. Now the items here on the left side are just the ways that we're going to manipulate with our objects. So for example, if we wish to edit points, polygons, or edges, we're going to do this here. This is something connected with the axes that we're going to cover later. Now these three icons are connected to soloing objects. So for example, if you have a lot of objects in the scene and you want to focus only on one, you're going to do this here, and then snapping is right here. All right, so this covers the very basics of the interface. So let's now talk a bit about navigation. So navigation tools in Cinema 4D are really straightforward. So with 1, you're going to have your move. With 2, you're going to have your zoom. And with 3, you're going to have your rotation. Same thing you can do with combination of Alt key and left middle mouse and left right click. So if I hit Alt and left click, I'm going to get rotation. Alt and middle mouse, I'm going to get move. And Alt and middle mouse and right click, actually, it's going to get the zoom. So the same thing you can get with this middle mouse wheel, when you can just zoom in and zoom out. Now, if you just click on the middle mouse, you're going to get this selection, which is going to be your perspective, top, front, and right view. And basically that simply means if you have an object in your scene, you can see it then from every perspective and where it is in the world and so on. So if you wish to come back or go into any desired views, you simply need to click this icon, and this will just full screen it. To go back, you simply click it one more time. Now let's see what else. So for example, next to this icon, you also have 3 more icons. They're going to be move, zoom, and rotation. And that is all. Now if you wish to bring back the default view, you simply need to go back to view, frame default, and then this is going to be the same view, and that is what's there once we started Cinema 4D. So yeah, so this covers the navigation. So let's talk about some other features now as well. So our cube is currently set as a parametric object, and we cannot use polygonal options like points, edges, or polygons to edit this cube. The only way that we can edit this cube is by moving these handles that we already talked before. So these handles and the way we manipulate them, we talked also that we can see it in object properties, but we also have this coordinate tab that if we use move tool, we can actually move. Let me just click on it again. We can actually move this all across the coordinate system, and then we can see the values that we change. So we can use this arrows to move the objects along, or we can use these values right here to do the same. So for example, now we're in the move mode. If we go to scale mode, you'll notice that whatever I do here, the scale will not change. I'm trying to change the values only on one axis, but all axes are affected equally. So I can only change it like this. Rotation still works fine as intended. So again, if you come here, we can see both values changed. And also maybe some interesting tip here is that if you wish to see coordinates and objects together, you simply need to shift click and then you will get both objects and coordinates in one single tab. So right now I just want to reset this. So let me put this to 0. Coordinates, we can also put everything to 0. And let's now select the cube and go right here and make this editable. Now, the moment we make this editable, we are now in polygonal mode, meaning that we can now select polygons. Let me just go to move and we can now select edges. And now we can also select points. That just means that this is now the way how we are going to manipulate the geometry in the future. So for example, now I wish to move this edge. I can move it along these axes, or this is something that we didn't mention so far. We can just click it and switch to world coordinate system and then move our axes like this. We also talked about this X, Y, and Z, what we didn't mention it, what they really do. So for example, if I uncheck these, you will see that they become grayed out. And the moment they are grayed out, you can move them like this, but as a whole, so for example, if I select here in the middle, you are able to move them only in one direction. Same thing with Y, for example. Now I can move only in one direction. Still, I can move them like this, but from center, I cannot. So just one tip there. Now these polygons, edges, and points, we can also use same transformation tools. So for example, I select here a face or a polygon. I can use still my scale tool and scale it down, and I can use rotation and I can rotate it like this. And again, just for the sake of simplicity, we are going to use hotkeys like E, R, and T. E being for move, R being for rotation, and T being for scale. So it's going to be much easier to access modes like that. This is everything that we're going to do regarding for the object manipulation or using point, edges, and polygons and transformation tools. So this is just a small introduction to these tools as well. All right, so I think that with this info, we can get ourselves at least a bit more comfortable with the software. We now covered the general interface, the general navigational tools, how to access polygonal tools as well. But now the more new tools we introduce, the more familiar we get. And I think that for this video, we can wrap it up here. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.